In the early 2000s, Warner Brothers somehow managed to pull off something truly impressive. They completely botched a movie about what was, at the time, the most popular female superhero on the planet. And yes, Warner has always had a complicated relationship with comic book movies. But Catwoman wasn't just another misfire, it was a masterclass in bad decision-making. Back in the early 90s, Catwoman was huge. So huge, in fact, that Warner nearly went broke during the marketing campaign for Batman Returns. Posters with Michelle Pfeiffer as Catwoman were getting torn down almost instantly wherever they appeared. People didn't just like the character, they were obsessed. A standalone Catwoman movie was already being discussed by the mid-90s. Then two things happened. First, Joel Schumacher released Batman and Robin. Second, Michelle Pfeiffer decided she was done. By the late 90s, Warner scrapped everything they had developed for a Catwoman movie with Pfeiffer and announced they were going to do something new and original, which is usually corporate code for "we have no idea what we're doing, but we're very confident about it." From that point on, the studio started stacking questionable decisions like it was a competitive sport. First, Ashley Judd, who had been attached to play Catwoman early on, was quietly dropped. Then Darren Aronofsky was shown the exit. Yes, that Darren Aronofsky. The guy who made Requiem for a Dream. He had been developing a Batman project that included Catwoman, but Warner decided the movie needed to be more modern, cool, and youth-driven. Apparently, that meant not hiring an acclaimed filmmaker with a strong point of view. Instead, Warner went with French director Pitof, fresh off Vidocq. At the time, Vidocq was being hyped as the first feature film shot entirely on digital cameras, which, in the early 2000s, automatically made it futuristic and edgy. Pitof later claimed he hated the script Warner gave him. According to him, he pitched hundreds of alternative ideas and was politely told to stop being creative and just film what was on the page. Which brings us to the classic Hollywood standoff. The director insists he could have made a great movie if the studio hadn't interfered, and the studio insists everything was fine until the director showed up. Halle Berry, who signed on to play Catwoman, also wasn't thrilled. She said multiple times that she agreed to star in Aronofsky's version of the movie, not whatever patchwork project Warner assembled after he left. In her telling, there was nothing she could do. Contracts were signed, momentum was rolling. Reading the fine print wasn't exactly the priority. Then there's the costume. Somehow the Catwoman outfit was never shown to test audiences. Warner simply decided, confidently and incorrectly, that this was exactly what people wanted to see. Only after the movie came out did everyone realize that the costume might work in still photos, or Halloween parties, but in motion on a giant screen, it mostly just invites laughter. During post-production, though, nobody raised a red flag. Another bold choice. This Catwoman isn't Selina Kyle. Instead, the main character is Patience Phillips. The audience didn't love that twist, but the filmmakers defended it by saying they wanted to avoid relying on an already popular character and do something original. Mission accomplished. It was definitely different. The movie's budget was around $85 million. Not outrageous for a comic book movie, but still more than X-Men cost. And more than early 2000s Ben Affleck movie where he mostly stands around looking serious in the rain. So no, this wasn't a low-budget experiment. Warner was fully invested. Production itself went fairly smoothly with one notable exception. At one point, expensive set pieces collapsed onto Halle Berry, sending her to the hospital. Everyone recovered, filming continued, and the movie moved on to test screenings. That's where things really fell apart. Test audiences laughed during dramatic scenes and reacted emotionally during moments clearly meant to be funny. The response was bad enough that Warner rushed the film into reshoots, cutting out anything that confused viewers the most and trying to reshape the story into something functional. It didn't work. What it did do was push the budget to around $100 million. At that point, the studio cut the movie down to about 90 minutes and sent it into theaters, hoping for the best. If Catwoman came out today, it wouldn't be called a flop. It would be called misunderstood. A black lead, a strong, independent female superhero breaking the mold. In 2004, nobody cared. Today, that's an entire PR campaign. The movie flopped hard, pulling in only $80 million worldwide. And in true Hollywood fashion, everyone involved immediately started distancing themselves from the project. Some blamed studio interference, others blamed contracts. Some claimed they were working off a completely different script. No one rushed to defend the final product. Sharon Stone, who played the villain, reportedly asked the studio to remove Benjamin Bratt, her co-star in Catwoman, from Basic Instinct 2. According to rumors, she argued that she had never worked with a worse actor in her life. Pitof's directing career effectively ended with Catwoman. His visual style was widely criticized, and the infamous basketball scene became a go-to example of how bad editing and staging can completely derail a sequence. The movie earned 7 Golden Raspberry nominations and won 4, including Worst Picture, Worst Director, and Worst Actress. Halle Berry, to her credit, showed up to the Razzie ceremony herself, Oscar in hand, reminding everyone that just a few years earlier, she had won an Academy Award for Monsters Ball. Any plans for a sequel were immediately scrapped, and Catwoman was quietly erased from studio memory. So thoroughly, in fact, that years later, Wonder Woman was marketed as the first true solo female superhero movie, as if this one had never existed at all. That was Frameback. See you on the next Rewind.